Our next speaker kind of has something in common with every single one of us in here. He resembles the future of Kentucky. He attended Henry Clay High School and graduated valedictorian of his class. And he also went to Harvard Law School and received his undergrad there as well. This man believes that our generation, these young people standing here today, are not just 1/3 of the population, but 100% of the future. He has served as your state Secretary of Treasury for 7 years, and it's my honor to introduce to you Secretary Jonathan Miller.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see so many people here. Thank you. This is my third higher education rally, 3 years in a row. And my message is the same that it's been each year, and that message is simple. The time is now, the place is here, and the moment is ours. Let me say that again. The time is now, the place is here, and the moment is ours. Now, you all know what it means to be old school. And I like my football old school. I like its smash mouth defenses played outside in the snow. I like my country music old school. I like Johnny Cash better than the modern stuff. But let me tell you something. This state cannot afford any more of its old school politics. It can't afford any more of its old school politicians. Now let me tell you what that means. An old school politician is someone that comes in front of a group of kids and says that I'm for higher education, but their record shows they're cutting the Bucks for Brains program. They handcuff the abilities of universities to finance their own projects, their own building projects, and they push the burden of funding higher education onto the backs of the people who can afford it the least. Now, an old school politician will tell you that he won't raise taxes. But at the same time, he'll raise your tuition tax by 10% or more every year, and so that you all are having to pay the higher taxes while the big cats don't have to pay those higher taxes. We can't afford old school politics. Kentucky cannot afford old school politicians. And it's time for you all to have your voice heard. The time is now, the place is here, and the moment is ours. Now here's what it means to be a new school politician. Here's what we need for new school politics. Number one, we need to make sure that every child born in the state, the day they're born, gets started off with a college savings account. And that's what Trey Grace and I have proposed. It's called Cradle to College. The day you're born, you get a college savings account. You save money, the state matches it, and so that by the time you're 18, you'll have at least enough money to go to a community college, and hopefully enough for a 4-year school. Tell your representatives we want Cradle to College. But unfortunately, that doesn't help you. And so what we need is we need to get legislation passed that will prohibit our universities from ever raising tuition by double digits, but it won't put the burden on them. It will put the burden on the General Assembly to make sure all our schools get at least 100% funded. So that we keep tuition increases level, and that we keep the tuition tax as small as possible. And finally, we need to support some new school politicians, and we're joined by one here, Bob Dameron, who's got a bill, he's had a bill for year after year, that will allow our universities to finance their own projects, won't cost the state anything, and allow them to update your facilities so they don't have to bill you for the new buildings. The time is now, the place is here, and the moment is ours. Now let me conclude. This is in your hands. Too many politicians come before you and say, you're the future of Kentucky. Well, guess what? You're not the future. You're the present. You're the present. It's not a future concern when you have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to afford college tuition. That's a real and present concern. It's not a future concern where you have to take a job that you don't particularly like, but because you've got so many student loans to pay back. That's not a future concern. That's a real and present concern. So I want you to do a few things. Number 1, go to Facebook and add me as your friend. Next way, we'll keep in touch. You and I will keep in touch in the future about what's going on here. A little bit more important, I want you to go see your legislators. Some of whom are old school politicians, but many of whom, like Bob Cameron, who you're going to hear from, are new school politicians. They understand your needs, but you need to let them know how important it is that we start every child in the state with a college savings account, that we fund our universities at least 100% so the burden of tuition is not on you, and that we put an end to the double-digit tuition increases, which is keeping too many kids out of school. And lastly, I want you to tell them one thing, and that is, the time is now, the place is here,